everyone, welcome back to Muscular Development. My name is Lauren Lotta, I'm your host, and I'm with the amazing and fabulous Emma Hyndman.
Woo! I feel like I would like a theme tune.
Okay.
When you introduce me, can I have like some sort of theme song or something?
Yeah, I gotta write this down.
Like a superhero something. Giles, can you help with that? Okay, fantastic. Yes,
So
for the next episode, please.
Yeah, theme tune pending. So that's what we're doing.
We do need a theme tune.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we do have one though, don't we?
We do, but we need like in-between theme tunes.
Yes, I like that.
Jingles.
Yes, give us a jingle. How are you, Lauren?
I'm good, Emma. How are you?
I am very, very well on this fine Monday. The sun is shining.
Yes.
I've got my summer dress on.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I'm good. Loving life. I'm happy.
Yeah, fun fact, this is the second time I've ever seen Emma in a dress. I only ever see Emma in like power suits or posing stuff.
Today's a softer look, you know. We don't always need to be in a power suit or a good, you know, dress jacket. Sometimes you just need to like chill out a little.
No, you look very pretty.
Thank you so much.
Pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah, but sun is shining and we are ready to get rolling on this because
We are. Talk us through what we're going to chat about in this episode.
Okay, so I ask questions on my Instagram story.
Yes.
And I get questions about I got a question about bodybuilding and business.
Oh, we like this.
So I figured, why don't we do an episode based on business within bodybuilding, because you've got a woman over here that's created a business and it's going successfully. You've got somebody that started one and who is
you're figuring it out, really, aren't you?
Yeah, there's loads going on.
Yeah. And it's quite different from being in, a 9 till 5, because obviously you come from being an accountant to then crossing over into having your own business and learning how all of that kind of stuff works and all the little hurdles you've got to jump over. And I think a lot of the time, we all go through that. There's a lot I learned in the very beginning, and you have to figure it out for yourself.
Yes. So why not create an episode where it's purely based on a little bit about the bodybuilding and how we started business. So I guess the first question I'm going to throw out to Emma was, how did you start it?
Okay, so a little bit of background. I have been in fitness since I was, about, let's say, over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so worked in a gym alongside being a dancer. So they kind of both were side by side. Kind of got to a stage where I got to about 27, and it was a case of, right, am I really going to focus on fitness now? Meaning, am I going to focus on personal training and building that side of things, and pull back a little bit on the dancing? So a bit of a crossroads, crossed over into just focusing on personal training, and had to graft hard. And I think as well now, because I've got my own gym and we employ personal trainers, I think when I first started out personal training, all I ever knew was you got to really work hard, and nothing is given and nothing is handed on a plate. I gave out more free sessions than I got paid for. I was in the gym when I wasn't on shift. I was in the gym trying to drum up business for personal training. So I always kind of had that natural work ethic, and maybe that's from my parents, because we lived in pubs, so all my parents did was work. So, and we lived in that work environment. So I think for me, combine that with being a dancer, we know to be a dancer, you get knocked back, you go again. You don't get that audition, you go for the next one. So I feel like that's very much so ingrained in me, which probably plays a huge part in my success that I have now. So personal training took me, I had no money. Like, I remember I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was like in investment banking. So he like owned a house, drove a BMW, like had loads of money in the bank, and I just didn't really have anything. But I always just like knew that eventually I would get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So the personal training then led on to doing a show, which I basically just did because I knew it would help in my PT business, which it did a show, and that absolutely catapulted my PT business. Fully booked, was charging, £45 an hour, which was a lot for personal training. And had a waiting list. So then started to cross over into online coaching, which I didn't love, but I did it because I knew I had to do it to just make more money. Because there's only so many hours you can work as a personal trainer. There's only so much you can push your rates up to. So had both of those things going, and then started to offer online coaching to then athletes. So then that side started to grow as well. Now at the same time of doing that, obviously then I found my niche of posing with the dance background, and again, a little bit of a crossroads again. Got to 30 years old, and it was, am I going to go 100% in on one thing, or am I going to try and still juggle these two other things, which is something we've chatted about as well. Because sometimes, I personally think you need to really focus on one thing in order to be successful. And sometimes we can get overwhelmed trying to do too much. But I think luckily for me, I didn't have a lot of options to do loads of different things. It was like, okay, I danced. Then I did personal training next to it. Then it was personal training, posing alongside it. And obviously now it's posing, and I'm in a position where I can actually have other businesses that kind of do feed into that same main business. So then crossed over 100% into posing coaching, worked with Rob Latibodier, who is a business development coach, amongst other things. He really helped me build my business, my brand. And what is brand? Brand is reputation. What was I doing with my content, my social media, using it as a shop front? And I just fucking grafted. I just worked constantly. I just worked as much as I could, and just built my brand in the direction that I wanted it to go. And it takes what are we talking there? That's a span of 10 years condensed down. And I think the danger is that these days a lot of people expect to, I get personal trainers that come in and they don't put the work in. Like I sat down and gave a PT some advice, and I said, look, you need to do this with your social media. You need to be given this kind of content. You need to be given free personal training sessions. People don't want to do it. They don't want to do it, because they, unfortunately, now we're in a world where we look up to people that we aspire to be like, and we only see the outcome and the result. People don't necessarily see the work that goes into it before someone is a success. So there's a lot of entitlement going on. So yes, does that answer your question?
I think that was a huge that's amazing to hear how it started. But I think for me, what sort of strikes me is, again, it's like not necessarily the length, but it's how you shifted into one thing, but then the other thing pulled back. And then until you found the thing that made you kind of, known.
I think even if I hadn't have gone into posing, I would be a very successful online coach. I probably wouldn't enjoy it so much. But if posing, wasn't an option, I would have made a success out of that. Or I maybe would have had a gym sooner and opened a gym, because I am one of those people that always thinks, right, I've got it to this level. How do I now level up again? How do I take this business another level up? How do I then make more money by not being tied down in the studio? How do I become a better personal trainer? But how do I then make more money, a residual income, So it's learning just how to progress and develop your business. And by doing that, we've got to constantly be in a learning state. You've got to be open to listening to content and learning from other people within the industry or other entrepreneurs, and just constantly just trying to grow our mindsets.
Yes, I think mindset is definitely one of the things that I've struggled with in the past couple of months for me, because I have tried so hard to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can. But the thing I've realized is that I am only one person at this moment. So I cannot do as much as I want to. Or if I take on too much, other things have dipped.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a fine balance for me to learn about that, because naturally I have always been a perfectionist and overachiever. And sometimes when you are a perfectionist, it can lead to procrastination. You actually don't end up doing much.
Yeah.
So
sometimes, like, you know,
streamline sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think definitely for you, because you're still kind of negating, you know, Buff Bombshell, and you've got also other really like the wellness magazine. And
well, I've streamlined a few things at the moment. So I'm really focusing now on Buff and the media part of it. Yeah. Those are my two babies.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is it's a really wise decision to make, because just like you said, it's almost like you can oversaturate yourself.
Yes.
And then nothing is getting 100%. No. And then one thing is not going to flourish, because you need water and feed that one thing. Yeah. Let that grow. And then I really think what you have going on underneath that umbrella of Buff Bombshell, everything will feed back into that anyway. Yes. But I definitely think for you, focus on Buff Bombshell. Yes. Get your socials where you want them to be, and just, you know, nurture your brand.
Absolutely, because like you said, it's all about the reputation. It's the name. It's how you build your brand. It's how you create the trust with the consumer, and it's that for me has been a huge learning curve. So. Always learning, and mindset is just always learning about that too. But I have another question now, because I feel like because you've stayed within fitness for the last 10 years, and you've been able to navigate through the different sort of aspects of it. With your competing, how are you able to balance that? So for example, there are loads of PTs and coaches at this moment, you know, and we're all competing. So how did you balance your love for competing with the work element of it?
Okay, so how did I build a business in fitness and also compete at the same time?
Yes, because the two are very
demanding. Now, I think if we're talking about a business that is within fitness, it's probably the easiest thing to balance, rather than having a profession outside of fitness, because they feed into each other really. I think, you know, for me, I just had to work really hard. You know, I had to get up, do my training. I'd then have to do a full day in the studio. There was no other option really. And I couldn't afford for one thing to drop. They both needed my full attention. So it kind of meant that I just didn't really have any other free time to do anything else but train and work. You know, I literally didn't. Weekends, I've always been a little bit stricter with my weekends, because it's my time out and I need that downtime to come back fresh. Like my work week is pretty much Monday to Friday. Maybe then it was like Monday to Saturday. And I didn't really do anything else. It was a case of get up, go and do my cardio, do my clients in the studio all day, go and do my training, come home, sit and do emails. And I didn't even have a website then, so I had to literally reply back and forth to people who were inquiring for posing, which to book one person in, on average, it was 8 emails.
Wow.
So there was a lot, back and forth, booking someone in, getting their payment, confirming the payment.
Yeah, that's...
and I didn't have the money to pay for a website. That was the black and white of it. So it's the only way I could really build the business. And I would be doing emails. Like I literally wouldn't do anything else but work, go home, emails, get up the next day, do the same thing again. And I actually think because I was in prep at the same time, it forced me to be disciplined, and there was no option to get distracted, because it became routine. Right. Every single day was the same structure, which meant that these 2 hours of the day were set for this. My evenings were always work. So it just became the norm for me. And I think as well, when you're in that mindset of competing, it's almost easier to be tunnel vision.
Right.
Because you can just apply that discipline that you have with your competing, the prep, the training, the food. You can apply that discipline to anything. And you will give 100% if you tick those boxes daily, whether those daily boxes are for your prep, whether those daily boxes are for your business.
I love that.
So I just think it's just that champion mindset across the board, not just for prep, but for your business as well. So I think you've got to be realistic that you need to sacrifice if you want to be successful in both. And if you don't feel like you can manage both, you're just going to have to pick one.
And I'm going to take it back into something that you said, where you said if you weren't in a bodybuilding profession or some sort of fitness profession, I do think it's hard to do one where you are in a profession that is completely different. It's the whole reason why I backed away from it, partly because I didn't love it. And I always used to think to myself, well, if I'm 40 and I don't love what I do, then would I rather have spent that time doing something I loved and actually made a go of it? Yeah. And for me, that was the big turning point a few years ago. And I think it can be difficult, not impossible, to do something else. It's not impossible, but you do have to be incredibly organized with your time, and just
I think there's a lot that goes into it. When you make a switch from being in a, let's call it a 9 to 5 job, where
mine was a profession, like 9 to 5. I was there after hours, month end, you were there till 9 p.m. kind of thing. This was a heavy job.
But I mean, in regards to the mentality of you go to your office every day, whatever you've got to do overtime and things like that. But I think building a business and a brand is a completely different beast, because you're going somewhere where you just have to go and do your job, basically. But when you're building a brand, you have to do everything within that business. Like, I know at the moment I've got emails sitting that need replying to because a couple of my tutorials on the website for some reason aren't downloading. No one else can fix that but me. So it's like,
I've had a look at the
things have to wait, and you have to prioritize things. And unfortunately, I'm a one-man wolf pack when it comes to the Pose and Pro and the full management of it. Yes, I've got Phoebe that works in the studio, but I do the website. I do all of the social media content. I do all of the bookings on the website. If a tutorial fails for some reason, I'm the one that's got to pick up the email, fix it. And it's finding the time to do that. And sometimes it's like, I'm not going to reply to that email, when it comes in on a Friday, and it might have to wait till a Monday, because unfortunately, I can only do so much. And I think sometimes as well, it's you sometimes have to not be too hard on yourself. And it's like, me probably 2 years ago, I would be sitting up until midnight answering those emails. But now, because, my brand is where it is, because I've done that time, I don't feel like there's an urgency for me to break my back to get something done immediately, where now I'm like, you know what? That email will wait until Monday.
Okay.
So, but in the beginning stages, I think it's got to be the opposite mindset. Like, you have to reply to it, then you have to get it done. And
also, just to be on that, for example, if you are in some sort of profession and you are wanting to do a sideline or a side hustle, do it. But just remember, my best advice would be to start small and not take on too much. So, for example, if you are thinking about doing some sort of online coaching service, establish whether or not you are doing a service-based business or a stock-based business, because the two are incredibly different.
Yeah.
And
how do you find it managing stock? Because that is, I think that would be quite stressful.
So background story for me, when I was actually in university, my 3rd year, I did this. I sold jewelry on Amazon, and it was a little bit different.
Okay.
And I made good money off of it, because that was how I basically paid for everything if I didn't want to work a job. And I mean, I was selling eyelashes to drag queens. It was great. I was doing everything on Amazon, and it was great, but I didn't have a website at that point, because again, I couldn't afford it.
But if you've got something like Amazon, then you can just sell through there initially.
It was different and the logistics side of it were different. But now, because I hold slightly different stock with shoes, there is another person involved in it. And that's the part that they don't necessarily tell you about when it comes to business. So you kind of have to navigate through this whole stream of other people. And again, holding stock is incredibly difficult because some of it is not going to sell. You are the person that determines what gets sold, what items you think people are actually going to buy or like. You can sit around with items that will never get sold, then they have to be written off because they're obsolete. You know, or you have to bring in other things and then you somehow leave it to one side. But it is completely different beast to a service-based business, I have to admit.
I think especially for the likes of your business, when, you know, if you go into shoes and jewelry, you just got to streamline with that.
Yes.
And not get distracted with other little things. Like you need to put 100% into just the real nuts and bolts of the business. And then once that is well established, then you can start doing little branches off that as well, like the bikinis or you know, other little different accessories and things. But I think as well, you have to solidify to your market what it is that you offer and what it is that they want.
Yes. So advice, know what you're doing, establish if it's stock or service, or if you're going to do both, then beware. Set aside the time and start small with your items if you are also coming from a completely different profession that is not related to fitness. And just like you said, find your target consumer and stick with that to begin with. That's been huge for me.
Absolutely.
That's
100%.
been huge. That's great advice as well. So that's great. And then I have another question for Emma, because you've obviously also gone through this big phase. How did you know that you could then turn your company into a proper company? Because you've...
What do you mean, as in going limited?
Yes.
Oh, what? So, well, basically, that's for tax purposes.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was on the same
Because
way.
as well, but at the same time, though, if you are, say, for example, you are just a small business and you're registered as a sole trader, which a lot of small businesses start out as, because you can turn over a certain amount of money before you're over a threshold and you have to then go limited.
Yes.
But you can start limited immediately. Now, all that means is basically everyone should really go limited if you are a sole trader, because you can then, say for example, the business doesn't work and it's in debt, you can just liquidate the company and it doesn't then fall on you as a person, it falls on the name of the company. So it's really, everyone should do it. I listen a lot to Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Have you listened?
read the book. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. So he is great if you're just starting off, because he basically, I recommend everyone listens to Rich Dad Poor Dad. It is such a fantastic, informative, you can either listen to it by Audible or you can read it. And it just gives you a lot of insight into how people build businesses, how people get rich. And really how to invest your money as well. So that's another huge thing as well. It's like when you start to make money, what are you going to do with that money that you've made and make more money with it? So that's really where I'm at at a business now. Everything that I make still pretty much goes back into my business. Yep. And if it doesn't go back into the business, it goes into investments.
That's good.
So I think as well, what we really need to learn is how do you save your money? How do you make more money? What do you do with your money? Because this is a huge factor of business as well. It's all good and well, you know, turning over X amount, but you need to know what you're doing with that money and how it's going to create more for you. So obviously now for me, I've got the Pose and Pro, the gym as well, and then the donuts.
The donuts.
I know, right? The donuts. So I think it's in regards to that question, if you're serious about your business, then go limited. It just takes the risk off the individual. Yeah,
it's smart advice as well. I'd say exactly the same thing. And then to wrap up our episode, we want to give you some of our favorite resources that you can look at, because Yeah, why not?
There's so much out there, and there's so many great professionals that give so much content and help when it comes to even just your mindset and, you know, how you're building a brand. So are you going to go with your, my one and only. So Rob Latibaudier is, he's a mindset coach. He is a performance coach. He works with athletes. He works with businesses. He works with millionaires. And he's really about taking you from where you are to where you want to be. And he's someone I've worked with on all fronts, personal, business, competing. So we've really done everything, and he's an NLP practitioner. So it's really about your mindset and how you use the brain and how you utilize the brain to be the best version of yourself. And like I said, whether that's in business, whether it's personal, he's just awesome. So Rob gives lots of valuable content. He's always, you know, giving people inspiration on mindset and how to really give yourself a good kick up the butt.
Yeah.
But he's awesome.
So that's Rob.
Yeah.
Rob Latibaudier.
Yes.
Very cool.
Super.
And then on to one of my ladies. Now, I've already mentioned this lady in a previous, but it's Jasmine Star. If you guys are looking for, I guess, a female side of what Rob Latty does, but very much within social media and how to get things going. And, you know, she has a fantastic podcast called Jasmine Star, and she also runs this Social Curators, which is all about business. So basically she runs her 2 Instagram accounts, and she's giving free advice on both of them. And I just think it's really awesome, because I like seeing successful women at the end of the day, and they're busy crushing it. And it's something that I aspire to, so why not?
And I think as well, like, what I recommend is if you're trying to kind of get yourself in a certain direction or, you know, get motivated, start your day with something inspirational. Like, one of my favorite people to listen to, which I do believe is one of the reasons why I remain focused on current goals, new goals, is Gary Vaynerchuk, who is he's a marketing expert. Yes. He's very big on giving free content and giving free advice about how to grow your business, how you should be working with your market, how to sell. So he's just awesome. Like, I probably listen to his content, all of it, easily. I've seen him live. If I would be more excited about bumping into Gary V than I would be a Hollywood superstar, because this for me is more admirable. Yeah. And he's doing so much for the culture, and just really trying to teach people about the generation that we're in, and utilizing and being resourceful with everything that we've got. He talks a lot about people not being entitled, on, you know, really just getting into the nitty gritty of it. And most people, you know, when they say that they've tried everything to make their business work, mostly they haven't. They really haven't. But Gary's just great for motivation on that front. So highly recommend Gary Vaynerchuk. And he's got he's done a few books as well about marketing, and also about just how to build your brand in your business. So he is definitely one to watch.
Yeah, I really like him too. I find that he's quite astute, and he's almost ahead. He's kind of
way ahead.
He's able to anticipate what happens in business before it actually does. So with NFTs, he's now doing something.
I've got one of his NFTs.
Ooh, which one?
I got the dog. So he's really cool. Like, he's way ahead of the game.
Yeah, so it's really awesome. I'm very excited to see what else. And just really good to learn from.
Absolutely.
And then, do you have one other person?
I do. Stephen Bartlett.
Yes.
Who is from Manchester here in the UK. Also, he's our UK answer to Gary Vaynerchuk. He became a millionaire around the age of 25, he built the Social Chain, which is based in Manchester. It's a huge marketing company. He is very inspirational. He kind of came from nothing. I'm actually reading his book at the moment called Happy Sexy Millionaire. And it's really about, we seek a lot of validation from outside in this social media world. And really, the validation needs to come from ourselves. So I've just started the book, but he's just great. He speaks so much truth, and I kind of feel like someone like Stephen Bartlett, I hope he's kind of reaching out to the younger generation and kind of making them realize that the book is very much so about money doesn't make you happy. Love doesn't make you happy. All of these outside things that we think getting those shoes or that car that you want doesn't make you happy. What actually makes you happy is you. And sometimes you usually got happiness before you get all of these other things. So, a lot of the books resonating with me, and I'm like, yes, Stephen, I agree.
Let's go, Stephen.
So he's awesome.
And then my last sort of resource is a guy called Ed Milet, who you can also find on podcasts, and he's also very inspirational. Just a lot of what he says resonates to me, and he's a bit like Gary Vayner, but not so. Gary Vayner is very business, very marketing.
Yes.
Whereas Ed Milet is more of a storyteller.
Okay. Yeah.
And I enjoy that. So yeah, give him a listen if you want to go find out more about him on his podcast, because I think he's really cool. Yeah. And big on family, big on, that's one of my things. So he's just I like seeing these people work and actually give out value. So it's amazing. Oh, and he's also like, okay, we come from the same kind of background, but yeah. I'll
definitely check him out.
He's good. And then that is basically our bodybuilding business episode for you guys. I was trying to figure out what to call
I enjoyed
this.
that. I hope everyone took some kind of valuable information from there. If you've got any other questions for us, then as always, just pop them in the comments. Yes. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was fun.
Thank you. No problem. Because I do get a lot of questions. I post on my stories for questions. I'm trying to do something different, so it can be absolutely anything related to bodybuilding. And like I said, Emma has been in this. I'm in it now, so it's just good to see how it all starts, how it all goes, and just how you can even do it for yourself. Because the way that the world is going, especially with the millennial generation, everyone is looking for that side hustle or something. Just don't become complacent or entitled.
No, you just can't. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow Muscular Development for more bodybuilding news, topics, and videos. And we love what we do, so we'll see you all again next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.